this nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds. It was founded on the principle that all men are created equal, and that the rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened.
Coming at you from a hidden location deep in the woods somewhere in Texas. Slightly overweight, probably intoxicated, nevertheless mercifully insatiable alpha male. This is the Juliet Delta Podcast. Welcome back. I am Juliet Delta. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming back, folks. Today we're going to talk about Little League Baseball. Let me get me a pinch of snuff. Where's my snuff here? Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah. Let's put this on the old lip. Oh, yeah. Now we can do business. Where's my brown water? Oh, here we go. Got a double sip on that one. Oh, getting right today. Feeling like a alpha male. Got me a little loving this morning. Rolled over and told the old lady I needed some loving. And of course, turned her on. She obliged. That's just what happens. Men, it's time to be an alpha male. It's time to make alpha males out of our little boys. Why? Because no woman is sexually attracted to a pussy, a beta male, a soy male, whatever you want to call them. Men, daddies, even you mamas, you need to encourage your man to grow up and have a pair of balls and know that he has balls. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let the man be a man. Encourage him to be a manly man, a masculine man, an alpha male. Someone that's confident in his ability to be a man and the things all manly. Teach him the art of manliness. Because if you don't, he's going to grow up and be pretty fucking unhappy. Oh, sure, a woman will marry him somewhere. And because, there are a lot of women that are attracted to beta men for marriage, especially if they've been financially successful. But they're never going to be sexually satisfied and sexually happy. And then what is the result? They're attracted to the pool boy that hasn't been emasculated yet. They're going to be fucking him. Or the dude out there, when they're out with their girlfriends drinking apple martinis or pomegranate martinis or lemon drop martinis, whatever they're drinking. When they're there and, they're happily married. And they've made 2.5 kids with this beta male, and he goes to work in his Prius, and he cares about the environment, and he's just so sensitive to all her needs. No, she's going to look over there, and she's going to get taken by that alpha male over there. That's what she's going to desire deep in her loins. She's going to want to get fucked, and fucked right. Not this, hey, do you mind if I do this? And, are you uncomfortable with that? No, she wants a man to grab her by the back of the hair. You know that little spot right at the nape of the neck, right where the hair starts growing out, right at the very bottom. Slide their hand underneath, hopefully, somewhat feminine long haircut. If you chopped all your hair off, well, you're probably not going to be very sexually attractive to alpha males. But so if you've got some nice long mane of hair, those women, they want a man to slide their hand up in there, grab that hair at the nape of the neck, pull it back a little bit, and just fucking take it. Nothing makes a woman feel wanted and desired more than an alpha man just grabbing her and fucking the shit out of her. Yeah, a beta male, an emasculated male, is incapable of giving a woman that kind of satisfaction. So, you need to teach our men how to be men. Our boys how to be men. We're going to have a whole discussion on emasculating men. Women emasculating their husbands, their boyfriends, mothers emasculating their sons. But today, this leads us right into Little League Baseball. Why does it lead into Little League Baseball? You're sitting here going, this guy's lost his fucking mind. He's crazy as shit house rat. No, Little League Baseball, what is the point? The point to Little League Baseball is to teach our children something along with having fun. Now, I watched a video recently. Hold on, gotta do a little spitting. Eyeballs are starting to flood. That's what happens when you put a big old juicy pinch of snuff in and get to flapping your old gums. So, I saw a video on YouTube. Actually, I think it was through Facebook or Twitter, not sure. And it was a local news story, that was floating around. And it was for a local little city, a local little news, the Channel 7, Channel 12, whatever, news of that local city was doing a story on Little League Baseball, and a specific coach, and I believe he had some other coaches that joined with him, got together, and I believe once a week, every so often, they would get together and let kids just play sandlot baseball. They actually had umpires there. They had the coaches helping. They weren't strict on the rules. The kids got to pick their own teams of people they wanted to play with. The rules weren't real strict. They didn't have to wear uniforms. The parents weren't allowed to yell and coach from the stands. Oh, that daddy out there that didn't make it very far and was a half-ass pitcher in baseball that thinks his son's going to go to the major leagues and go to college and thinks he deserves to be an all-star and believes he's the best player on the field when he's actually out there picking boogers and rolling around chasing butterflies, he's not allowed to fucking speak. The children came up with these rules, not the coach. The coach got together and said, kids, what are the rules you want to play baseball by? Sure, we're going to have some basic rules, obviously 3 strikes, you're out, and you got to run around the bases. The general rules of baseball are still in play. Otherwise, it would just be a bunch of kids running around in the fucking field chasing balls and butterflies. But the rules that they wanted cut out were the strict coaching, the parents being so aggressive. They wanted that cut out. That's what the shit they don't like as kids. They wanted the stuff that takes away all the fun. They want that stuff ended during this fun activity. So the coach got together with some other coaches, got together with some umpires, and they did it. And then they did it for a while, and they asked all the kids, they said, you still play organized Little League, with a real coach and, with a real team and the real rules and the way it's currently is today in every little city USA. They said, yep, we all still play that. And they said, and you play this, your sandlot baseball. And they said, yep. And they said, which one do you prefer? And every one of the boys said, we like playing sandlot baseball. They're allowed to get into fights and wrestle and tussle out there. If they get in a disagreement, they can go after each other. They can throw dirt in the air. They can kick dirt around. They're allowed to be men. Little boys emulating man activities. And they're learning how to handle and deal with each other emotionally and mentally as a man. We don't allow that in Little League Baseball anymore. My son, one of my sons, plays Little League Baseball. And I'm going to tell you some stuff that I just find awful. And I sit here and tell him. And the reason I'm talking about this is I assume that some of you parents are probably going through some of the same stuff. Some of the same stuff you're having to... I had to do a little more spitting, sliding around the old chair. Some of you parents are probably going through some of the same problems with your kids. And you probably see it's just not fucking fun. They're not enjoying it. Well, so last year, my son played on a team. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, sure, is he the best player on the field? No, he's not. Is he in the top 4 or 5? Yes, he is. He's been playing since he was T-ball. He loves the game. He's had some good coaches. He's had some shitty coaches. The coach he has now is pretty shitty with his attitude. He's really good in mechanics, and he's really good at making him a good player. Parents love him for that. I, however, feel that that's only half of what's important in playing baseball, and letting baseball be something that, one, creates enjoyment and fun for these young boys, accomplishment, and also helps them learn some very important skills where they can emotionally, mentally handle adulthood. I need a little sip of that brown water, wet my whistle. They got baseball can help them develop skills where they can be good teammates when they go and find employment somewhere and they have to work in a team setting. Just about anything you do in work as employment, even if you work on your own, the feeling of accomplishment, the feeling of being able to work and cooperate with others, to have goals, to meet those goals, to be successful, you find all that in baseball. And I'm not against that. And I'm definitely not against awarding trophies to the winners and nothing to the losers. I am anti everyone gets a trophy. I think that's just is bad in the opposite direction. That's just as much as the problem. That's part of the problem today. If you don't win, you don't get a trophy. Second place doesn't get anything. But likewise, that doesn't mean I'm only for winning. No, I'm not. I'm not saying. I'm definitely saying winning's not everything. Being able to win and being successful is great, but how you win, how you show sportsmanship. Let me get another sip. The character that you show when you lose is something that's very important. And that's one of the ways we fail. Let me give you an example. So my son, again, I was telling you earlier, he plays shortstop and he plays catcher, and he's really good at both positions. He usually bats in fourth. He's the cleanup. There's several guys on his team that are about at his same level, and there's 2 or 3, 4 that are probably better. He's a number 4 hitter, and he's good at shortstop, but he's even better at catcher. He likes catcher better because he's always in the action, and he just enjoys it. I was a catcher, and I think that has something to do with it. In T-ball, the catcher's kind of nobody, but when you get to, I'd say 12 through college, once you get about 12, the catcher really, once you get past machine pitch and coach pitch and you start actually kid pitching and you can steal bases and things like that, catcher really becomes important, and he likes it. But they were in first place all year last year. They won. They finished in first, and they won the trophy. But they were playing the second place team. 3/4 of the way through the season, they had already played them further at the very beginning, and they didn't know they were going to be the second place team, and they stomped them. And they had only lost like one game, and it was kind of a fluke. That the team that they lost to went on to I don't know, barely even win any games. Just one of those weird things that happens in sports. So they were feeling pretty good about themselves. Here they are, 3/4 of the way of the season, like one loss, way in front, 4 or 5 games in front of all the other teams. Here they come playing the second place team. And the second place. And you got to remember, I'm sitting in the stands. I'm not coaching. I'm divorced from their mother. I'm remarried to Mrs. Delta now. And we live an hour and a half from where my kids are. We also have kids with my current wife, Mrs. Delta. But I work. I work a full-time job. I work anywhere from 40 to 100 hours a week. I'm on call, and I travel all over the world, all over the U.S., but all over the world sometimes. And I just can't be committed to being the coach. But I go to just about every game I can. So when I go, I haven't been actively there at practices and coaching, so I don't feel like it's really my place to jump in there and try to be parent coach from the stands. I think that's extremely obnoxious to everyone else trying to enjoy their kid playing baseball. I think it's not only obnoxious to the people around you, it's not helpful to any of the kids out there. That's not to say I'm against encouraging. Oh, I'm hollering my kid's name. I'm cheering him on when he comes around and touches home when he gets a good hit. Oh yeah, I'm clapping and yelling and cheering. I'm talking. You know what I'm talking about though. That parent that gets down there behind home plate. You know, up against the fence. He's not a coach, and he's back there just right in his son's ear. Just, all right, now this time you better do this, and you better do what I've been telling you at home, and you better do this, and oh, you better level it out. And every swing and every pitch, he's just like right in his fucking ear. God. I mean, if I was a kid, I would just be like, fuck. And a lot of these kids you can see them turning the looks at their parents like, leave me alone. Like, I'm trying to do something here. I'm trying to have some fucking fun. So I'm not that guy. Matter of fact, I abhor that guy. I think he's a pain in the ass. I'm the guy that sits there and cheers when my son does good, when the team does good. I cheer on the team and hope for a win. And when it's all over, whether they won or lost, I go up and tell my son, hey, you played good. You were a good teammate. Did you have fun? And I hope that he says yes to all that stuff. I hope he's happy. I hope he has a smile on his face even if he lost. And he can come up and say, man, we almost had him. Man, we just didn't play good today. And I'll say, yep, that's true. You didn't play good today. Y'all didn't bring it. Y'all need to practice a little harder. But did you have fun? And he always tells me yes. But, excuse me, lately he's always been telling me yes because we've had some serious talks. But in the beginning, he wasn't. He just kind of looked at me. Because to him, it was all about winning. And so back to this original story. I'm just sitting there chilling, watching the game, cheering him on. And they're playing second place. Remember, they're up 3 or 4 games. I can't remember how many games. They had a pretty solid lead in the division. And the coach is just, we're going to cream these guys. We're going to show our dominance. And we're just, merciless. And what did these boys come out? The second place team came out playing lights out. And our boys were struggling. They weren't themselves. The pitcher wasn't himself. Everybody made mistakes, including my son. Everybody was making mistakes. And they just weren't on. They weren't sharp. And the coach, my son's coach, was losing his mind. Why? Because they weren't having fun? No. Because it's his ego. He's been talking shit to everybody. He's been pumping it up to the boys, pumping it up to the other parents. He's been making sure on social media that everybody knows they're the best. They're the number one. They only got beat by nobody as a fluke. They could beat that team that beat them anytime, not any day, and twice on Sundays at this point now. He's been talking shit about Little League Baseball. So when the boys have an off day and the number 2 team comes in, and remember, they creamed this team, run ruled them early, made them look awful. Here they come out. This time, they're way better coached. They're way better practiced. It's toward the end of the season. Some of those kids that really hadn't played much baseball have played almost a full season. They're coming into their own. They're coming together as a team. And guess what? Toward the end of the game, one team was all smiles. But they had been all smiles all game. You see, it's one thing to say, oh, well, they were all smiles because they were winning. No, they were all smiles from the moment they set foot on that field. Win or lose, they were going to have fun. And you know how I know? Because the coach walked out there. He was on the left side, left dugout from where I was sitting, and he told his kids, I heard him, win or lose, fellas, we're having fun today, right? and they're all jumping up and down. Yep, yay, they're cheering. They're kind of hopping around as 12, 15-year-old boys do. They're jumping up and down. And he's like, this is the best team in the league, guys. If we beat them, we got a chance at, maybe finishing out the season in first place. But I just want you guys to go out there and have fun. I want you to play good. I want you to play hard, stay focused, but most of all, I want you to have fun. Win or lose, right? They walk out with smiles on their faces. What is my son's coach over there saying? This is the worst team in Bay. This is the second to worst team. This is our biggest competition. We're the better team. We will win. No smiles, no happiness, no joys, no love for the game. It was no compromise. We will beat them. We will destroy them. Anything less is a complete, utter fucking failure. That Bullet's tasting pretty good today. Bullet Rye Green Label. Do I have to say it every time? Go buy you a bottle. Maybe one day they'll sponsor me and give me $100. Or maybe hell, I'll just take them and ship me a bottle every now and again to keep drinking. Anyway, our kids come out. They're stressed. They're not one of them smiling. You can say, oh, they're determined, they're in the zone. No, they weren't. They're kids. They're not smiling in the zone. They're not happy. They're stressed out. They're feeling the pressure. This coach is putting it on them. Now, why? What good does that do? Nothing. It doesn't do any good. We know what it did. It had the opposite effect. It stressed out these boys that aren't emotionally, mentally able to handle that kind of shit. Because you know what? They just want to have fun, and if they win, they celebrate it. And if they lose, they still smile and go eat, a Dairy Queen. And they still go get a fucking snow cone. And yeah, they want to be good, and yeah, they want to be competitive, but they're not going to the majors when you're 10 or 11 or 12, 15 years old. They want to have fun. They're kids. So they go out there super stressed. Every play, the coach and the coaches, or a couple assistant coaches, are just berating them in their ear. Just wearing their asses out. And every time a kid would hit an out, or hit two and out, or strike out, or pop fly, what's the coach doing? He's not clapping saying, it's all right, buddy. You'll get him next time. Hey, you know what you need to level it out. This is what you did wrong. But it's good. You're going to get him. No, he wasn't doing any of that shit. He was throwing his hands down, like waving them off, like just forget it. Just forget about you. That's a lost cause. Every kid. These kids wanted to perform and every play was win or lose the fucking World Series. It's ridiculous. So this goes on, and I'm contrasting. I'm looking back and forth in my own mind. These two coaches, their kids smiling. Obviously, and they're not beating us by much. I mean, it's not like they're just creaming us. But they are playing better. They are definitely better than us that day. No doubt about it. And if we had been on point, and we had been sharp, and our boys had gone out relaxed, happy, smiles on their faces, with no pressure, I think they would have beat that team. I think they would have been the better team that day. But the pressures, the just sucking the joy and fun out of the love of the game, caused, in my opinion, those boys to lose. You could just see it on their face. They hung their head every time they struck out or popped out or hit to an out. Every time they didn't get on base and didn't possibly score and wasn't a positive play, I mean, they held their head down. They didn't even want to hear. They didn't want to look at the coach. Likewise, you look at the other coach. Every time one of them kids made a mistake, he's cheering them on. He's coaching them through it. He's telling them what they did wrong, but telling them it's okay, trying to teach and educate them, help them figure out what they did wrong. So next day, they're like, yeah, coach, I got you, coach. It's two different people. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, the kids on my son's team are not amazing players because of that coach and the way he treats them. They're amazing players because they've all played baseball pretty much since T-ball. And they practice hard and love the game. And they've had a lot of different coaches. And like I said earlier, my son has had some really amazing coaches since he started playing in T-ball years ago. And most of those kids have. This coach is getting the glory of all these kids, different kids that some of them he didn't even know till that year and this year and every year going forward. Until then, he's never coached them. He may have seen them play on other teams, whatever. And I'm not even going to the whole coach daddy baseball. You know, obviously his son is one of the pitchers. His son always plays shortstop or first base or, you know, in second base. He never plays in the outfield. He never sits the bench. Of course, I think we all know that you knew that he was that guy too. He was that coach. Well, they lost. They lost the game. And they lost it because of the coach and the coaches and how they treated and how they pressured up and set an environment for failure for those boys. And the other team won because of the coach loving the game and telling his kids it's okay to lose. Let's go out there and have fun. Let's go out there and be competitive. Let's go out there and be focused. But win or lose, we're going to have fun. And their kids were light on their feet. They had no pressure. If they lost, it didn't matter. They were out there to have a good time. And they did. And they whooped our ass in every facet of the game. They were better. Hitting, fielding, pitching, defense and offense. They were just better. Now, they didn't whoop our ass with the score. But I don't necessarily always look at the score, especially in baseball. You can have a very tight game. And one team obviously dominated the field of play in baseball. Football is kind of the same way. You can have somewhat of a lower score or a close game, you know, with only 14 points or less decided, and one team can dominate both sides of the ball versus the other the entire game. And that's kind of the way it was here. They dominate everything. Well, then it comes time for the huddle up, you know. You got to go shake hands, and then both teams go out, you know. One's out there, kind of out there out in the grass by first base, and the other one's out there in the grass kind of by third base. And the coaches are chatting, and he's just, you can see it all over his face. My son's coach, our kid's coach. He's just tearing their ass up. He's so disappointed. And really what it is his fucking ego has been ruined. He's been talking the shit. And he's got a bruise now on his pride. He didn't give a shit about these little boys. And the fact that they didn't get to have any fun. And that they're getting a sour taste for the game in their mouth. And sportsmanship. So he goes through all the talk. And it's a pretty quick talk. You know, sometimes they go out there and sit and chat for 20 minutes. And you're like, come on. Daddy needs to go get a Blizzard at Dairy Queen. You know, Mama's getting hungry. We've been sitting out here all goddamn day. And come on, Coach. Talk to him at practice tomorrow. A lot of them you get that way, but this one was quick. Why was it quick? He wanted to make a statement. As soon as he was done talking, he had him do a cheer and, the break, 1, 2, 3, go, Raptors, Birds, 1, 2, 3, Rangers. But instead of saying 1, 2, 3, whatever their team name was, he had them yell really loud. 1, 2, 3. We're still in first place. No, we're still number one. That's what it was. So he gathers them all up and he tells them, I want you to yell it so loud they can hear it in the parking lot. Make sure they hear it. And the kids are like, 1, 2, 3. And he's the loudest one. 1, 2, 3. We're still number one. God, I was so fucking embarrassed. Oh, I didn't want my son to be there participating. I did not want my son to be showing that kind of just lack of moral character, lack of sportsmanship. Ugh. You people that think that shows competitiveness and shows drive, and those are good qualities, you're fucking wrong. There's nothing wrong with being a gentleman. There's nothing wrong with having class. And there's definitely nothing wrong than having fucking character when you lose. Give the other team their due. Show class when you lose. Well, that just showed no fucking class. That team came out there and those boys whooped your butt every part of the game and beat you in runs. And instead of congratulating them and being good winners or good losers, that coach taught him that his boys that screw them. We'll be we'll show shitty character and make sure they know we're still number one. God, I was disappointed and I was fucking embarrassed. And my son came over and I grabbed him and I talked to him and we had a long talk. I told him that wasn't right and I asked him how it made him feel. He said he didn't like it. He didn't want to say it. He said that. I said, well, what do you think about the other boys? He said, I don't think several of them wanted to say it. They kind of had a look on their face, when we told them, when the coach said that's what we were going to say, kind of like they didn't want to say it. And I told him, how I felt about it and how I felt it was poor sportsmanship. And he agreed. I'm glad he agreed. And he said, well, I just had to do it because coach said we had to do it. And I said, yeah, I understand. I said, it's time you stand up. You're starting to become a little man. It's time you stand up and say, no, that's not right. And even if you get punished, even if you get set on the bench, screw it. There are bigger things than winning. And that's called principles. And I use this as a tool and a time to teach my son. If he stands up for principles in those moments, and I'm not saying be disrespectful. There's a big deal in standing up for principles, and you can respectfully stand up for yourself. You can also disrespectfully stand up for yourself, and that usually gets you no fucking where. As the old saying goes, don't come before the judge in court with dirty fucking hands. So I explained to him about respectfully standing on his principles. He can stand there and be quiet, and he can say, he doesn't have to do anything. He can just stand there and not say it. He doesn't have to make a point. He doesn't have to make sure the coach knows that he's not saying it. He can just not do it. And maybe some other boys will see him. And then they'll ask him why he didn't. He can tell them. And then next time maybe they'll do it. Before you know it, it's time to cheer. If you stand on your principles, that's infectious. Other boys will ask why. And if you're brave enough to tell them why, what your character and your moral compass and your principles are, 9 out of 10 times, especially young boys, respect those things in a man and a boy and a male. Other males respect that in other males. Generally speaking, they respect character and principles. They respect a man that'll stand up for something when there's nothing to gain, when there's nothing valuable in it for them. But yet they will still stand up based on their ideas. So I explained all that to him, and we went our merry way. And it wasn't much longer after that. It was time for All-Stars. He makes All-Stars every year. And obviously, if you win first place, I don't know how it is where you live, but in Texas, if you win All-Stars, if you win for the season, you get somehow it affects your draft. You basically get your whole team goes, and you can drop, kind of your dead weight, and you can draft a couple of, the rest of your team. So basically, the coach gets to go to All-Stars if you win first place, and you pick your top 4 or 6 players, and then you draft from some of the other teams that may have been, nowhere close to near the top and didn't make All-Stars. But, they had the 1 or 2 kids on the team that were really good, and they just happened to be stuck on a, team that didn't have a lot of talent. And that's the way it works. So what does he do? Of course, he drafts for All-Stars, which is fine. I'm proud of my son for making All-Stars. Will always be. And it's Saturdays. Well, that's fine. The games are on Saturdays. The regular season games for All-Stars are during the week in the evenings, which is way more convenient for people that work and have a life. And we go through All-Stars. I make sure he's there on Saturdays. Now, I remember I told you I was divorced, and my kids live with their mother primarily, and I get them every other weekend. Well, actually, I get them about 2 to 3 weekends a month, and then 4, 5, 6 weeks in the summer, and then your standard visitation. And I try to see them every game I go to, even if I'm not in custody. I just try to see them throughout the week, anytime I can. And most time it's softball games, baseball games, volleyball games, basketball games, you name it, I'm trying to be there. And he plays all summer. I make sure he's at all the games. And what did that mean? That meant that all the Saturdays that the family was together. Now, this is my family. This is Mrs. Delta, my wife, her children, my biological children. All of our biological children together for the weekend. And they're all very close. They all get along very well. Guess what? That means every Saturday that we're all together, we either all have to go and sit and watch one of the kids play baseball, or I take him out there, which means I don't get to spend the time with my other child, biological child, and I don't get to spend time with my wife, and I don't get to spend time with her kids. But I did it. He deserved it. He earned it. And I told him it's for a short period. It's not a whole season. So I made it clear I would do it. And we did. And he had fun. And he did good. And he didn't go all the way, but he went a long ways. Him and his team, and I was proud of him. And I cheered him along as often as I could. But I told him he can play fall ball. Now that's spring ball through the summer All-Stars. Fall ball's different. Fall ball is on the weekends. And I told his mother and him, I said, look, you can play spring ball every year. If you earn All-Stars, I'll make sure you're there every weekend. But I'm not going to make sure you're there every weekend in the fall too. And I'm sure some of you parents that live and breathe baseball are sitting here thinking, I just don't understand the whole, you're a bad parent for not doing that, not supporting that. And I said, look, you can play that game in the fall. But on the Saturdays you're with me, we're going to go do something as a family. We're going to go to the zoo. We're going to go to the beach. We're going to go fishing. We're going to go camping. And the whole family's going to go together. I'm already spending 6, 7, 8 months if you make All-Stars from, not that much. I guess it's probably about March, April, May, June, into July. So about 4.5, 5 months of the year playing baseball with you. One of the kids, and I got a pack of them. I got a damn litter of kids running around between me and Mrs. Delta. So we've already spent 4 or 5 months and a bunch of Saturdays and a bunch of evenings just for one of that pack of kids. Well, I'm not doing it the entire year. So I said, look, he can play if he wants, if the coach will let him. But on my weekend, we're going to go do what we want to do as a family together. I think that's just as important and more important than playing baseball 24 hours a day, 365 goddamn days a year. His mama didn't like it, but she didn't fight me on the issue. And she signed him up. Talked to the coach. Everything was going okay. First couple of Saturdays, he didn't make practices because it was me. First couple of Saturdays that he was with me, he didn't make any couple of games. Now, he was making the games on the other Saturdays. And if I could, I would go. But on principle, I'm not going to devote. Life is not baseball. Baseball is part of life. When it becomes an obsession, and your entire family's schedule has to revolve around this one thing, then it's too much. It's too much. And I don't care. I don't know what the percentage of kids that play Little League Baseball, but I guarantee it's less than 1% make it to the major leagues. So the odds of any of our kids going to the majors have nothing to fucking do with the fact that they did or didn't play baseball in the fall. Now, if he gets in high school and he's really good, and he goes on to play in college, you bet I will support him 100%. I'll be one of the loudest fans in the stand cheering for my kid. And if he can make it to the pros, Godspeed, good soldier. Make a bunch of money, support your own self and family, and I'll come visit you in your fucking mansion on Thanksgiving. But how many parents devote their entire life, the life of all the rest of all the family, the other siblings, to this one kid, or just the boys, to baseball? Or even better, then they try to give all the kids the opportunity to play one of these sports, or a sport, or a activity. Then the parents don't even get to sit there and watch one of the kids for all their games because they're too busy running around all day Saturday, dropping this kid off at this field and this girl off, at this practice or this recital or this show, this ballet or this dance or this gymnastics or this volleyball or this softball. And they're running 4, 5, 6 kids if they got that many. Sure, if you got one kid and that's what you want to do, I guess do it. But when you're a family and you got other things, there's nothing wrong with going out and learning how to camp. Go camping with some boys, with their dad. Learn how to make a fire without matches. That's pretty fucking important. It's a pretty cool skill. That builds confidence too. Learn how to set up camp and cook over an open fire. Go fishing. Learn how to launch a boat. Drive a boat on water and bait a hook. Catch fish. Clean the fish. In the fall, go deer hunting. Learn how to properly dispatch and take down an animal and clean it and respect that animal and turn around and eat that animal. There's nothing better. There's nothing more. That's just one of the important things you can teach as a dad, your kids. To me, it's just as important or more important than baseball. All those things together is what makes life. You take one away and you just make it all about baseball, you're leaving out a big chunk of what can help make young boys turn into men. And there we've come kind of full circle. Almost. Because that fall, what happened? That coach called me. That asshole coach that I watched should teach my son how to be, unsportsman behavior. That coach I saw be just an asshole on the field all year that I have no respect for. He called me the following fall. And he didn't understand why I wasn't letting and wasn't making sure that my son was at every game and practice. And I told him what I just told you people, that baseball is not our life. And we have a family. And this family is more important than baseball. And doing things as a family and learning other skills and learning how to have good character and principles and becoming a good, going from a boy and turning to a young man and then a mature, emotionally, mentally mature, physically mature young man into a man is more important than playing baseball 365 days a year. And it was just silence. And then all he could say was, well, I just think you're a horrible parent. I said, you do? And he said, yes, you won't support. He said, our boys need supported in this. And I said, no, you need supported in this. This is about you more than it's about the boys. Because if you cared about your son, he probably would rather go camping with me than playing baseball with you. Every single time the sun shines, you're out there ripping his ass. And then we got into a little bit of a dick measuring contest after that because he wanted to start cursing at me. So, of course, I cussed him a little bit. And I said, look, here's the deal. My son won't be there when it's our weekends. Come spring, he'll be there every practice that's possible. He'll be there every game that's possible. And I hope he makes All-Stars. And if he earns All-Stars, I'll make sure that even if it's my weekend, an hour and a half away, I'll make sure he's there for all the practices and all the games. When we have to, at All-Star games, you got to travel. I'll make sure, I don't care if it's 3, 5, 6 hours away. We'll make sure he's there. He earned it. That's it. So now we're full circle back to what I'm trying to explain about character. Teaching your boys and your young men character, dads and moms. Moms, it's not as important a role. Sometimes it's just as important for moms to just pull back and let their boys grow up. Quit babying them. Quit emasculating them. Quit expecting them to behave like girls emotionally, mentally, and start treating them like rough and tough little boys. And that way they'll grow up to be good men that treat women correctly, treat their women correctly and properly with respect they deserve. And we can do that with baseball. We can do that with Little League. But right now, we don't very often. So kudos to that other coach of that team that faced us last year. You don't know who I am. You never will hear it. But I want everybody out there, if he ever hears it, maybe he'll know. He'll know because he'll remember that because I explained it in quite a bit of detail, and he probably knows exactly who it was. But even if you don't ever know, and that's you, and that's your team, anywhere in America, whether you're in California or you're in Florida, or you're here, right here in Texas where I'm at, or you're all the way in Ohio or Maryland and Maine. If you're that coach that tells your kids win or lose, we're going to go have fun, and you do it right, I'm talking to you. Congratulations to you. You're teaching these kids, these boys, what it's really all about. And if you're one of those coaches that thinks winning's everything, it doesn't matter how you do it, well, you're teaching your kids bad ethics, bad morals, bad principles and character, bad behavior. Cut it out, man. These are boys that need to be shown how to be men. And get over your fucking self. Your ego about winning. It's not about that. The moment it becomes about that, it's completely wrong. Everything is wrong. The moment it becomes about the coach's ego, you're not getting paid, brother. This ain't no fucking job. Your performance doesn't count. You can be last place, and guess what? You still get the job next year if you want it. Because a lot of dads can't do it or don't want to do it. Don't know how to do it. You're not going to get beat out for the job next year. You'll always be there to put your son in as pitcher and shortstop and have him lead off batter, even if he's one of the shittiest players on the team. Don't worry, that'll all be there no matter where you place in the division. No one's going to stop you. But just know there are parents in the stand, and quite a lot of them actually, that are embarrassed by your behavior and that actually sit back and smile at the competitor, at our competition, and realize they're doing it right. So to you coaches that are doing it right and teaching these kids how to be young men and teaching them that baseball is not everything, but there are some valuable principles and values to learn by playing the game of baseball, and you just want them to have fun. Kudos to you. So we're going to give a salute to you, good baseball coaches. Got my glass here. Skull. That's to you, baby. Go out there and keep raising young boys into healthy, happy men. Because if you don't, and you don't do it, if you're not there to help emotionally help these young boys turn into men, well, all that's left of these piece of shit coaches that have forgotten the love of baseball. Take care.